to another episode of The Gridiron Guy. And today I'm going to be covering who I think can finish as the wide receiver one this season. And it's a tough thing to project because there are multiple capable, talented, elite NFL wide receivers. But I have narrowed it down to 4 favorites who I think will finish as the wide receiver one. And I have 3 sleepers, and I'll tell you why each of them have a chance of finishing as the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy this season. So the first guy I want to talk about is Michael Thomas. And Michael Thomas finished as the wide receiver 1 last year by a wide margin. He caught almost 150 passes on 185 targets. He's seen about 150 targets plus the last 3 seasons. He is playing with the Hall of Fame QB, and he's not even getting double-digit touchdowns. In PPR, this man is a monster. He could be drafted over most elite running backs. And he should continue to put up monster numbers. The addition of Emmanuel Sanders and Jared Cook might take away some targets, but Michael Thomas, even if he gets 140 targets, can finish as the wide receiver 1. He's efficient. He catches a ton of passes, which is why he does well. And he puts up the yards too. This is a guy who should finish as the wide receiver 1 for the season. But this year he'll have some competition. I think if Michael Thomas puts touchdown numbers up to 10 to 15 in that range, there is no reason not to draft him every single year as a top 3-4 pick because he gives you elite consistency. He never puts up any bust weeks. He only catches 5 passes in PPR. It's already 5 points, 50 yards, another 5, 10 points right there, which is basically every single week. I would give him about a 40% chance to finish as the wide receiver 1 and probably the safest pick in the first round this year in fantasy football. Now at number 2, the guy who I think has the second best chance to finish as the wide receiver 1 may come as a surprise, and I have Julio Jones. I have Julio there because I think this year is the year that Julio proves all the haters wrong. Oh, he can't score touchdowns. Oh, Ridley's going to start taking over. No. Julio, in the last 7 seasons, the stat was probably one of the craziest ones I've found this offseason. In the last 7 seasons, only one season he's had under 1,400 yards, and he only missed it by 4 yards. He had 1,396. He's consistently put up 1,400 plus yards in the last 7 seasons. And his career best is 8 touchdowns. And if he gets 8 touchdowns or above 8 touchdowns, he will be right up there with Michael Thomas. His targets are consistently around 150. The Falcons lost Austin Hooper and Mohamed Sanu, 200 plus vacated targets. Julio's target share should increase. And I think this is one of Julio's better fantasy seasons. If his touchdown numbers are not around 3 and 4 and around 7, 8, 9, which they can be because Hooper was their touchdown guy last year and now he's gone. I think Julio can finish as this year's wide receiver 1 is an absolute steal if you're able to get him in the second round behind a running back like Clyde Edwards or Dalvin Cook or Derrick Henry because you're getting a guy who can finish as the RB1 and a guy who can finish as the wide receiver 1, which is a fantastic way to start off your draft, and I am not mad at not going RB if you can get Julio in the second round. But now we have a guy I'm not too high on, but I think he has elite upside and high bust potential, and that is Davante Adams. And he's been pretty banged up recently, missing a good amount of games in the last 3 years. And I'm not a fan of his ADP being drafted around pick 7 to 10 in most any scoring format. But 2 years ago, he put out a fantastic season finishing as the wide receiver 2. Saw 170 targets, put up double-digit touchdowns. And this year, I think if he's able to stay healthy, he will have a fantastic season for a few reasons. First, Adams is playing with no other receiving weapons in the Green Bay offense. And people may think they'll put double teams on Adams, they'll do all of this, they'll do all of that. He will see so many targets from Aaron Rodgers that it doesn't matter how well covered he is, he will catch so many passes. He's going to score all the touchdowns in the red zone. The only other threats out of the Green Bay offense are Jace Sternberger and Allen Lazard. They're going to be a run-first team, So if they get the run going and hit some play action passes, Adams will thrive this year. As long as he can stay healthy, that's the big concern I have. He has to stay healthy, or he will not be a good fantasy player this year, because last year he went down to injury and he just was a complete bust. He did not play that well. He just did not get it done. Simply did not get it done. If he plays a full 16 games, I guarantee him as a top 5 wide receiver finish amongst the league's best in Julio and Michael Thomas. I like Adams, but not at his ADP, but I think he has a chance to finish as the wide receiver 1 this season. Now, lastly, this is a guy that people may not think has a chance to finish as the wide receiver 1, especially in standard scoring. I think he can do it, but I think he also can do it in PPR, and that's Tyreek Hill. He did it 2 years ago with Mahomes, and he showed us he could do it, and I believe he could do it once again. Playing with Mahomes and all those weapons, and now Clyde, I think Tyreek has 2,000 yard potential. And that seems crazy, but he could put 2 games back to back of 250 plus yards in each game by catching 4 or 5 passes. I mean, he has potential for 15 touchdowns. He can score from wherever he is on the field. On a bubble screen, he could take it to the house. If Mahomes can replicate his 2 seasons ago production, Tyreek Hill is a top 3 guaranteed wide receiver. It's just how many balls he will catch, because in PPR, guys like Michael Thomas will catch 150 passes, where Tyreek will catch like 80, which makes a huge difference. And I just think that Mahomes is going to have a much better season than last year. It was almost a sophomore slump for him. His yards will be up. They'll have a much better running game to balance it out now, and I think Tyreek has a career year with Mahomes, as good as the 2018 season. And those are the 4 wide receivers who I think are going to be the best chances to finish as the wide receiver 1. Those are also probably my highest ranked wide receivers. I would put Michael Thomas my wide receiver number 1, Tyreek at 2, Julio at 3, and Davante Adams at 4. And you may say, why do you have Tyreek at 2 over Julio at 2? Because there's a good chance that Julio has like one of his mediocre seasons where he doesn't score a lot and finishes like the wide receiver 10. But I still think Julio has a better chance to finish as the wide receiver 1 than Tyreek and Davante Adams. However, a lot of people are probably going to be questioning, why isn't Mike Evans here? Why isn't Chris Godwin here? What about DeAndre Hopkins? And the problem with those 3 wide receivers are that they are in poor scenarios to see extremely high target shares. Evans and Godwin are competing against themselves, and then they have Gronk, O.J. Howard, Cameron Brate. I mean, Brady is not a deep thrower anymore. He's more of an efficient passer. I just don't see either of them being able to get enough targets to the point where they can be the wide receiver 1. I think it's also not a player I want to be drafting with a QB switch. I understand Brady's a better quarterback than Winston, but as far as fantasy goes, being a wide receiver for Jameis Winston is amongst the best QBs in the league. He throws so many air yards in a game. He doesn't care about his interceptions. He takes all the chances. I think Evans and Godwin both have worse seasons than they did last year, and I can say that pretty confidently. DeAndre Hopkins could prove me wrong, but I think with the Cardinals, they spread the ball out a lot. They're trying to run a spread offense. I think Christian Kirk, Andy Isabella, Hakeem Butler, Larry Fitzgerald, Kenyon Drake, and Chase Edmonds are all going to be really involved, and I think it'll be hard for Hopkins to see target shares of like a Julio or a Michael Thomas, who are the focal point of their own individual offenses. So I think those 3 guys are just going to be around top 10 finishes, but just won't be able to get done at the end of the day. And now to conclude this video, I want to go over 3 guys who I think have sneaky potential to finish as the wide receiver 1. And these are long shots, but I think of all the guys, they have a chance, because there's other elite talent wide receivers like Odell, Golladay, Cooper Kupp. Like those guys, I don't think they can do it, but these guys, I think they have possibility. And the first guy who I think has a possibility of finishing as the wide receiver 1 is Allen Robinson, because he will be seeing such a high target share on the Bears. He needs Nick Foles to do it, though. We saw how good he was. The 1 year Blake Bortles was almost average. He put up like 14 touchdowns and 1,500 yards. This man is a straight baller. He gets slept on every single year, and he put up a fantastic season last year with nothing. If his touchdown totals go up and Foles plays well, I could see Robinson catching 100 balls for like 1,500 and 12 touchdowns. He's that good. He's a great player. Why he won't, though, is because poor QB play by Chicago and their lack of scoring opportunities. Now, the second sleeper, I think, who can finish as the wide receiver 1 is DJ Chark. And DJ Chark is an extreme long shot. It's only, I believe, his third season in the NFL. But, I mean, he is a physical talent. He resembles AJ Green in build, speed, and a talent with his hands and how he can go up and get it. And he should also see a high target share on his team. Jacksonville should be behind a lot, passing almost every game more than they run. And I think if Chark can take the next step in his game, Minshew is a pretty good quarterback and could get him the ball enough to see elite production. He had a low reception percentage last year, I believe around like high 50s instead of mid 60s. But I think Chark will take a big step forward this season, and I think he's a great value at his ADP. Wide receiver 1, that's a bold prediction, but I think he will be far, far better than we all expect. But in the end of the day, I think he'll be hampered by the fact that Jacksonville will not move the ball consistently, and he won't have as many targets as he needs to get it done. And now my last sleeper for wide receiver 1 is DJ Moore. And this is a guy who will be able to do it in PPR, but not standard, because he can catch so many passes. And it just comes down to, can he score? Because I like the breakout potential, but he scored 6 times in 2 years, which kind of hampers my projection on him. And I worry he's a possession receiver and he won't make those big plays into the end zone. He may get those 30, 40-yard catches, but in the red zone, they seem to go to McCaffrey. Now they have Robbie Anderson and Curtis Samuel also there, who shouldn't be much of factors for Moore's target share. But I guess that they're more of a deep threat than he is, so they might take some touchdowns in that department. If Moore can score 10 times and catch over 100 passes again, he's instantly into consideration in PPR. Bridgewater is a far better quarterback than anybody he plays with ever. He played with Kyle Allen last year and a Cam Newton who couldn't hit the side of a barn. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater will thrive with Moore because he is a short, accurate passer, and Moore loves to run his routes under 10 yards and run after the catch. So those are my 3 sleepers: Allen Robinson, DJ Moore, and DJ Chark. I think all could command 150 plus targets and be, if not finishing as wide receiver 1, great sleepers and top 5 wide receivers overall for the fantasy season. And that concludes the video. I just wanted to break down how I think the top of the receivers will play out this season. I think right now Michael Thomas is the clear favorite, but I think don't sleep on Tyreek Hill. Don't sleep on Julio Jones. And Devontae Adams has boomer bust potential to get up there. But as always, make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below what you think of each receiver and where you think they'll finish for the upcoming season.